Fish Tank TV, what's up? This is Keith coming at you from the Fish Tank Nook. Been getting all kinds of questions about that tank, in particular my shell dweller tank. This question's coming from Corey. Corey's from Rhode Island, and Corey made, and I'm sorry Corey, but I'm gonna bust you out on this, dude. He made a classic mistake. And it's a mistake that everyone's made, and that's, he went ahead and, he saw maybe some of my shell dweller videos, and he went ahead and bought them. But he didn't really do all his homework first. So please, people, do your homework before you purchase a fish. Get a little bit of background information. Corey, it's gonna be okay though, dude. We got you covered. So here's kind of the things that I would suggest to you. First and foremost, okay, and slow down, and don't jump into getting fish before you do all the proper research, dude. No big deal though. You got a 10-gallon tank at least to work with. What I would have done for you in particular, I made a bunch of little notes, dude. I watched your video, so this might suck, but just bear with me. Okay, my advice is to dive right in to like any internet info you can do, research, if you, especially with cichlids, because a lot of them get big. Do a little bit of research first, and especially now because you don't even know what species you have, and I could probably hook you up with that, but right now your water's too cloudy to even see them. But I would have definitely aquascaped the tank first before I put fish in there. Right now you just have a kind of a cloudy mess with sand. But you know what? That'll clear up. Just run your filter. But definitely, I would have aquascaped and got that all dialed in first before I added my fish, because now you're just going to be disturbing them. No big deal though. Okay. The second thing I noticed, shells, dude. You got one shell in there. They're shell dwellers. They need, that's their natural like hiding spots. So they kind of need, see that little shell to kind of set up shop. And each one will claim their own shell, so it's kind of important that every single one has their own shell at least, and if not, an extra one. Like I said before in my other videos, I got like 13 shells and 5 fish, so they all have, access to shells if they need to dart in an emergency or whatever. They need to get away, they need to hide, they got places to go. What you can do, relatively cheap for right now, I would go ahead and go down to like a hardware store and get some 1.5 inch or 1 inch little PVC elbows, like just a little like 90 piece that just kind of looks like that, and those will work for now. You can use those always. It doesn't have to be a shell in an aquarium environment, it just looks a little more natural. If you do get shells, the escargot shells seem to be the best ones. They're lighter, they're a little bigger. Even the bigger fish can fit in them, so it works out pretty well. And I think these are about 1.5 inches, 2 inch diameter. You can see that's a 10-gallon tank for a perspective on scale. Okay. Other things for you, I would have cleaned your sand a little bit better before putting it into the tank. And I'm not trying to like harp on you, dude, but this is just like all the stuff that immediately popped in my head. Put the sand in a bucket, fill it up with some hose water. Stir it up as much as you can, get all the little dissolved dirt particles out of it, drain it, and just repeat until the water's, at least semi-clear, if not clear. That might take a while, dude. When I cleaned all the sand for these tanks, it took me like 20 minutes, maybe even a half hour to get all the, the dissolved dirt and crap out of the bucket. But in the long run, it's better because then there's less crap, in your substrate that you have to deal with clouding up your water. So I would have done that. Okay. The other thing, you're saying 20 bucks for your fish. That's cool. That's not a bad price. If you got a pair for $20, because these they were all 15 bucks each out here in California. So I don't think price was too bad an issue. It'd be cool to see what you have. So definitely make me another video, or make another video for yourself and everyone else. You had some questions about pH. Okay, pH. First of all, know what's coming out of your tap. Everywhere is different. You may have very soft water. you're saying you're keeping your tank at neutral, so that means you probably have pretty soft water. It's a little bit more on the alkaline side here. The pH coming out the tap's like almost 8. So just know what that is. I know the guys at the fish store were telling you it was kept in neutral, but I mean, I guess it depends. Do you really trust them? They didn't know what species of fish they sold you, so maybe ask them for a little sample of water and just test it yourself, dude. Get a good test kit, see what the fish were bred in or kept in, and you know, if they fish, especially bred in captivity fish, or that sounds really retarded, captive bred fish, whatever they're kind of born into, they can kind of acclimate to it. So it may not even be an issue. If your fish seem like they're happy in the pH that they're in, just leave it, dude. If you want to, you know, change it up, and I'll go, there's a lot more specifics, dude, but go with like this is the one I use, Seachem. They probably have this everywhere, any like Petco or whatever. This stuff's pretty solid. This is a solid company. They make Prime, Flourish, all that stuff. But make sure, there's different ones. This one's from Lake Tanganyika, and some of them will say Victoria, some of them will say Malawi, because all these lakes have specific pHs. See, this one's like 9 to 9.4, which is some pretty like crazy, you know, minerals up in the water. But make sure you get the right one. And you know, I mean, it can slide, but I guess in an optimum circumstance, you would want the proper lake buffer for the fish you're keeping, because each lake's water chemistry is a little bit different. The minerals that make up the hardness are different within the lakes. I think Tanganyika is more, I believe it's like carbonate hardness, or it's got like a higher KH or something. I forget the specifics, but each lake's a little bit different and has different dissolved minerals that make the water what it is. So to really, you know, have your fish showing their optimum colors and behaviors and stuff, you kind of want to try to mimic their natural environment. And that's just my personal opinion on that. And you can, like I said, you can keep them in any pH. If they're already doing well in the 7.0 neutral pH, then just leave it. But I would definitely get some more shells in there for them. Also, ask the store for a water sample. Test that. See if they even know what they're talking about. Know what you're starting with, basically. If you want to buffer your stuff, basically what you want to do is know what's in there. Then you kind of want to gradually add a little bit at a time. Let the buffer kind of work its way in there, and then test it again. Test the pH and the hardness, you know, a day or two later, and then kind of repeat that process slowly. You know, and do some water changes or whatever, but make sure you put that buffer in with the water changes, and kind of just work it in gradually, and just kind of let it do its thing. Let the filters run for a couple days, and then test again, and kind of monitor your pH, and you know, once you get it to where you want it, just maintain it. Figure out how much of that buffer you need to put into the new water when you do your water changes, and just, you know, get a little routine. I got mine down. It's like, you know, it's half a teaspoon for 5 gallons is what I figured out, or half a tablespoon, or whatever the bigger one is. So just kind of, you know what the water is to begin with, and then kind of adjust it accordingly, slowly, a little bit at a time. Okay? I think that's pretty solid info for you. I think that got most of your questions, but if it didn't, let me know. And I'm gonna run back here, dude, because I set a little something up for you, and I don't do this for everyone, but you actually asked me, so I made up a couple little aquascapes for you. These would probably fit in a 10-gallon. You can do some lace rock, right, and then just kind of divide up the territories and throw the little shells in between like that. Boom, you know. And that way the sight line's actually broken up for, you know, if there's a fish over here and then they can't really see the one over here, and that's kind of important to disperse the aggression. Or you could kind of do like a round rock thing like that with some driftwood, you know, and throw some shells under there, throw a couple more over here, and a couple more over there like that. You could do something like that. And if you wanted to do the Anubias and the Java moss, you could like plant it up on a log. That way, when they dig and disturb the substrate. It doesn't uproot the plants, because that's kind of an issue with those guys. They're going to want to dig. So that's what's up, dude. I hope that helped you out. Let me know if you got any more questions. Totally hook you up any way I can. Alright.